What is up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of High Minded with McCarter. I'm your host, McCarter.
I'm her co-host, SK.
Today we talk to Amy Nudelman, the founder of JoyGum and JoyBombs, which are Cannabis-Infused confections brand here in Colorado. They are so yummy. We were just eating some of the infused JoyBombs. They're so good.
They're delicious. We talked to Amy about her journey starting the company, navigating Colorado's cannabis industry from afar, and then all on her own once she got here to Colorado about 5 years ago. And JoyGum has been taken off ever since.
Yeah, I love the JoyGum, and they just launched the JoyBombs this year, so they're a newer product.
They're delicious.
They're so good. They're basically like a fruit chew that's circular in size and has a like hard shell on the outside.
Yeah, it is indistinguishable almost from a candy that is one of my childhood favorites.
We're not allowed to say Skittles, so we're not going to say Skittles.
Absolutely. We would never say Skittles in this situation. Yes, absolutely.
Never. Amy is such a visionary. She basically talked all about her journey of she was really high in Amsterdam with her husband back in 2007, I think it was.
Yeah, and he's a confectionery master.
Right. He basically is one of the few people in the world that know how to make gum and the specific ingredients of making chewing gum. So it's a really interesting niche kind of story and place to be in the market. And I think it's really great because gum is so discreet. Mm-hmm. So like introducing cannabis to it when most people think of cannabis as being like smelly, smoky, just not clean at all. And I just feel like gum is very like, immediately cleans my mouth.
Totally.
Gets rid of my
it's fresh,
bad breath.
Yeah, I really like it for the fact that it's sublingual and it just absorbs so quickly.
That delivery system is so not as tapped into as I think it should be.
It's really weird because I feel like there was a moment where that sort of technology was the forefront and people were talking about it a lot, and
I think COVID hit,
and
it really slowed down the innovation happening in the market because now people are only worried about that bottom dollar and bottom line. How much is flour costing and how much is stuff moving? If stuff isn't moving off the shelves quickly in a week, then they're so reluctant to bring it on into a dispensary. So it's so interesting, what goes into that purchasing decision too.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like product categories are all kind of lumped in mentally together, but it's people aren't buying lotion at the same rate that they're buying flour or edibles. So it's really
totally different consumption rate. Although I can tell you I'm eating these JoyBombs at a crazy consumption rate.
Yeah, the way that they were delivered to us in one large bag.
We got some samples that were a tester. This was like a test batch.
Mm-hmm. New flavors coming out. So.
Yeah. But yeah, Amy is so amazing and incredible and just talks about, like SK mentioned, getting into the Colorado market, moving from Baltimore, Maryland, first of all, to a new state and trying to navigate a whole new cannabis business when you're just a regular person coming from, she had a dental hygienist background and still does some of that work. Craziness.
Yeah, it was really cool just to see how perseverance can be the key thing in making a business happen. Just sticking with it.
That's a theme for sure. We love you, Amy. You're the best.
Thanks, Amy.
And everyone check out JoyGum or JoyBombs if you're in the Colorado area.
Or Massachusetts. They're coming to Massachusetts.
Oh my God, yes. You heard it here first. Maybe not. That they are launching in Massachusetts. They will be available hopefully by November, December.
Nice. Yes.
So shout out to our episode sponsor today, Randy's Resin Guard. We love you guys. They invented this really cool resin guard that is better than water, and it is for all of your water pipes or bongs that you would normally put water into. So it's clear, it looks exactly like water, and they use all safe food grade ingredients and materials, but do not drink it. It's not safe to drink.
Yeah, it doesn't have any flavor or smell to it, so it is almost indistinguishable outside of
that it's not water.
Yeah, exactly. And it keeps my stuff so clean.
But it keeps your pipes really, really clean, a lot cleaner than just regular tap water that I would normally use. And yeah, we just took a couple hits out of the bong and it's so clear. It looks like no one even hit it.
Catch them at randys.com and at Randy's Wired on Instagram.
And as always, follow me on Instagram at McCarter Gets High and follow the podcast at High Minded Pod. But our website is highmindedpodcast.com. Slight difference there. And SK is amazing and uploaded all of our episodes to YouTube. Thank you so much for doing that. So if you're a YouTube person, they're up now and we're going to start doing video soon. That's like a next year 2023 plan, like top of the list.
Absolutely.
Yes. And also please give us some reviews if they're nice.
Yeah. And if you think that you'd watch us on Twitch or Discord or any of those things, let us know. We're open to suggestions.
We're always open to suggestions. Like, that's why I said only post a review if it's nice. Like, if it's a bad review, just email me personally. I want to talk to you personally. Yes, but thanks again for listening. We love y'all so much. And as always,
stay high.
My name is Amy Nudelman, and I am actually, I guess, the brainchild behind JoyGum. I'm the founder. My husband has been making chewing gum for, 25 plus years. And on a trip with my husband, a business trip to Antwerp and a trip to Amsterdam, I came up with the idea of cannabis-infused chewing gum. Probably 2007 was when I originally started thinking about it. And it was just like in the back of my mind for years. And I would like joke about it and talk about it. But I kind of always wanted to do it. So just a dream that I just pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed until it happened. So since then, we've come out with more products and we've expanded into a brand called JoyBombs. And I'm not alone anymore. I've merged with a company called RMZ Colorado, which is it's good and it's bad. It's just what you have to do to survive.
Yeah.
So I did what I had to do, but we move on and we're getting ready to expand into other markets. So Massachusetts is on the horizon.
Yay!
Awesome.
And we were
So
just
exciting.
eating your newest product, the JoyBombs.
Yes.
Which is like a fruit chew with like a hard candy coating. And this is all for entertainment purposes, just so we can say whatever we'd like and we don't need to worry about getting sued, basically. But
by a company that makes
non-infused candy fruit chews.
So part of my thoughts in the process, and I'm actually the person who does the R&D. Now, Dave did a lot of R&D on the gum because that's so specialized. But as candies roll out their mine, is to not necessarily recreate the wheel. Why don't we go with something people are familiar with and really love?
Yeah.
I can't think of any, and of course in this industry, you really can't call it candy.
Right.
Some sweet kind of confection or chew.
Right. I know. Whoops. I say can't. It comes so quickly. But then, yeah, because candy is associated with children. So we can't say that.
We took it, I think was it the Rooster? We just took an honorary mention and it said candy on it. And I was like, because they didn't know where to put us. Because there's so many gummies, and we've said this forever, they just need a gummy
Edible category.
Period.
Yeah.
Let them just compete amongst themselves. Why would you even consider anything else? There must be 100 of them.
And to put gum in the same category as gummies.
So the gum
that doesn't make any sense.
was
either.
originally developed it really is a sublingual, truly. It's water soluble.
Oh, cool.
So there's some tricks to the gum that you need to know. One is you don't want to drink anything with it while you're chewing, but when you chew it, you'll notice it gets it's hard, then it gets real soft, and that's when all of the active is being released, and that you're trying not to. You just want to kind of like savor it, basically.
Okay,
and
let it set in.
Let it set in because you're going to absorb sublingually a little bit.
So did you have to do any sort of like micro?
So yeah, it is. We actually hold a patent. So this was another fun aspect. When it was time to trademark, patent, such and such. We were concerned that you couldn't, and it kind of is hard. We're very
What was your patent experience?
none. None. My experience, I was a dental hygienist for 25 years at this point, 20 years. My experience was none. It was a dream. But I guess my advice is if you have a dream, don't give up. Just keep fighting. It might take longer than you thought, but
Yeah, it's like everyone that we've met who's like made their dream a reality does it by perseverance. And
And
just
it
like,
really is
yeah,
perseverance
will.
and not giving up.
100% perseverance.
Yeah.
Because now that you said that was 2007, it's 2022. That's almost like 15 years later. But the brand started how many years ago here in Colorado?
So we actually launched in 2018, September, October, the fall of 2018.
Okay.
So we got our license in the beginning of 2018. We were rocking and rolling pretty good through it. Got good distribution. People were pretty open to it. Although, again, I want to say it's a really lightweight, heady, high product. And here in Colorado, people really want something kind of heavy hitting often.
Oh, yeah.
So
They want the concentrates and the high
and the low
THC.
dose thing still wasn't quite caught on yet. I think some of the markets like Massachusetts, microdosing is really popular. There's a lot of boomers that like the microdosing.
Okay.
Here in Colorado, they're starting to catch on. But in the beginning, it was just like you walked into a dispensary and somebody had 8 colors of hair. And you know what I mean? And I do think that some of the older people weren't really understanding yet. And it was so early.
It was a little off-putting too.
Yeah, off-putting. And I think that now there's so much discussion and, it was on the front of AARP. I think since how many years has it been now? They're starting to get more comfortable.
Yeah.
10 years of legalization. And now time for a quick commercial break. Big shout out today to our episode sponsor, Randy's. They make this new resin guard that is better than water for any of your water pipes or bongs. We just hit it out of the bong and it was so great, so smooth, and the bong is looking so clear.
Better than water for sure.
Super clean, very fresh.
Incredible.
We also love their original products, which are the wired rolling papers, so you don't have to use a tip or filter. Check them out at randys.com or at Randy's Wired on Instagram. Well, can you tell us more about how you made the move from Baltimore to Colorado and acquired a license and all that jazz?
My husband is Dave, and he is the genius behind chewing gum. So there's very few people in the world that make chewing gum. To just summarize it and wrap it up, he was working as a consultant, a private consultant. So he had a number of people. He had customers pretty much international. So it really didn't matter where he lived. He was just going to have to get up for the calls maybe a little bit earlier.
Okay.
So it was a long story leading up to that. And I was pushing for it for a number of years. And after about 3 years of being a consultant, I said, hey, all you have to do is change your office location. It doesn't matter. So I basically and this is our relationship after 30 some years, is I'll push and push and push. But finally he gave in. He said, okay. And on this one, there were some others he hasn't. So
it's all about compromise.
Yeah, well, somebody's got to compromise always. Just depends on what's happening.
Yeah.
So we finally moved out here. I also had my dental hygiene license when I came, backup plan, because that is what I did for so many years. And I definitely know that I know how to do that.
Yeah.
Where this was just like, hey. So before I came, I had downloaded all of the information about licensing, hard copy, like highlighting it, studied, and it's complicated. Mm-hmm. And if you call the licensing board here, they won't answer your information at question at all. Mm-hmm. They'll tell you have to get an attorney and take a gas space. I mean, it's really not.
Wow.
One of the things different about Massachusetts that's great, they have a CCC, Cannabis Control Commission, which to me is a nicer name than the MED always, Marijuana Enforcement Division.
Yeah.
So anyway, if you call, they'll tell you have to email, and then you get an email and they give you the clause in the licensing that you have a question about.
Oh,
Here
my
it
gosh.
is.
Wow, here's information that you're asking for.
I'm like, I totally don't understand this at all.
Yeah. And they just give no explanation.
No. So I muddled through it, I'm going to say. So
Without a lawyer?
we didn't know lawyer. So I did this all on my own. I'm actually I was the owner. Dave didn't, and we had business reasons and personal reasons. So I was on the line with the license.
Wow. Badass.
And probably basically all the debt that went with it. Even though we were a team in the background, on the front side, it was me.
Yeah.
He had his own business at the time still. He still had his consulting, which is called SAS Development. So he still kind of maintained a little bit, but some of his clients dropped off. So we ended up getting a license in Aurora. And at the time, it really had to do with where you could find a location. So here in Colorado, there really is no limit to who can get a license. And aside from the social equity stuff, which is another story, in my opinion, all they needed to do was remove a nonviolent felony offense, or the things that stopped all those people on social equity. Because as a woman, as somebody with no money, we went into this just personally self-backed. So we financed it ourselves. So we upped and moved. We rented a house over here on this side of town in Lafayette. So I love this part of the state. And we looked until we found a location. At the time, it was very difficult. I ended up in Aurora. Applied for the Aurora license. They were fantastic. Applied for the state license. Did it myself. You just have to go through. It's like any other state or federal application. I mean, it is doable, but it's
kind of like pulling teeth.
It's like
feels very dicey. Like you're like, tax form. Is this correct?
Yeah.
Like, is this
it's like,
is that what they
item
want?
11C was wrong, so the whole thing's rejected. Like,
so it was nerve-wracking. And honestly, I got backed up, I think, more on my renewal. And if there's something wrong, they contact you if there is a problem. So they don't just reject you. They're just like, hey, you're missing
nice.
Well, it's expensive. I mean, you're talking about thousands of dollars. So, why wouldn't they want you to try to get it through? But I was simple. I didn't have like 5 investors and they ask for everything. They really ask for everything.
So they want your financial statements,
100%.
tax history.
All of it. They want to know what you have in the bank. They want to have.
They're like, give us all your information.
They want fingerprints, obviously, full background check, all of that. I think that I feel like they've lightened up a little bit over the years, that they realized that maybe it was overkill and at the time, you couldn't take money from outside. Anybody lived out the side of the state. You couldn't take money from them, but you couldn't get a bank loan either. So everybody was limited to who could go into this business.
Yeah.
Wow. So do you think that the level of regulation in Colorado is too much, not enough?
I feel like everywhere to a degree there's over-regulation, or I should say over-taxation. I think there should be some degree of regulation. I mean, there's no question about it, but so many licenses given out, it's not right now. There's so many businesses going under because, again, it's supply and demand, and there's just so much here in this state. It's kind of sad.
Yeah.
We're losing a lot of good stuff. And it's a lot of the little stuff because obviously as it takes big money.
Yeah.
We were just talking about, she's a big proponent of the free market. And I was
so hard.
And I was like, well, yes, I agree that the free market is good, but it just, big money is always going to win against the small, local craft people, mom and pop people. And that's where it gets so sad and dicey, is I don't really support huge corporate capitalism,
I think it'd be nice if they could make a way for both, because everybody likes the finer stuff. And I think there will trickle down and be, but starting with licensing, the corporate pays the same amount of licensing fee as the little guy does.
Right.
So for example, my licensing fee at the time in Aurora was $15,000 a year.
Whoa.
And then I still had another $3,500 in state licensing fee, plus badges.
Oh my
this
gosh.
Is
it's
honestly
so expensive.
The libertarian in me is on fire, just anger. That is so to do that to small business.
And I'm a small business.
Right.
So here we are self-funded because you can't get a
it's
loan.
all
And Dave's
coming out of your pocket.
And Dave's maybe at some point you'll be it's because it's women owned, you'll get some kind of grant money or something will happen. No. Didn't
they just
being
want
a woman
everyone's money. And that's the state just being greedy with where they could put that
like
money, basically.
And the feds
Tabor.
are on the back end here hovering because, of course, they'll take your tax money,
Right.
but they don't let you deduct anything.
Oh
So
my
it's very
gosh.
contradictory. But again, if you're in the industry for years, it's like, well, but it's okay. We signed up. We knew
Right.
there was, but as it's trickling down, and I had a feeling at some point you would start to see this where a lot of people folded in this state because, I think COVID added to the tumult.
Yeah. And supply issues in
Everything.
the flower market.
So maybe it sped it up, but tourism factor has declined because we've 18 rec states now.
Yep.
So there's other places to go.
And like like New York is one of the only states now that has like you can actually smoke outside, which I think is so dumb that Colorado hasn't done yet. That you can consume cannabis. I don't know what the law is called. It's like an
Open consumption.
Yeah. And I just think I talked to you, there's no consumption lounges here.
That new Jeb's that just opened.
There's
I
one,
haven't
there's
checked
like a
that out.
couple. There's like one or two.
There should be, especially open air spaces, whether
Right.
it's and it's a catch-22 again, how I feel about alcohol consumption along with cannabis, because I think mixed together, lots of times it doesn't go well.
Yeah.
Especially for newbies.
Did you even
Like a
ever consider
retractable
even
wall.
doing like, oh my gosh, like a 1 milligram?
So here in Colorado, there's some stuff we've talked about that may not even roll in Colorado. We might just take it to another market because it's just so finicky here. Like a 1 milligram here, like the bud tenders, they don't want to talk about a 1 milligram here.
But if it comes in a pack of like 40, 50, 100.
Once we can break it with these, and again, we were looking at some other product types. It's tough here. It's hard to
Yeah.
get shelf space, and it has to be something pretty solid.
Yeah, that's definitely true. We were talking about shelf space and how limited a commodity it is in most dispensaries.
Even when it's not, they say it is.
It's like
Well, and right now times are tight.
now's honestly, we're gonna see a lot of things
Yeah.
changing, a lot of turnover.
And I do feel like there is a bit of an obstacle with bud tender education because a lot of bud tenders usually consume a lot. So that's dabbing or smoking a lot of flower. They're not even taking or considering a small edible. So then they're not even going to tell people about it. They would probably really like it when they come into the store, like a tourist that needs just a very small microdose to try it. And yeah, it's just sad. I think that
It is sad.
a big obstacle that I see as well.
Well, I'll let you know as we spread across the country. If
Yeah.
every market is like that, I'm hoping that some markets aren't. I know for a fact at this point, microdosing is a lot more accepted. In some areas, actually desired.
Yeah.
In Massachusetts. So they were really, really stoked to see the 2.5, and they actually did ask about a lower dose.
Yeah.
So
That's why I love the 10-to-1 peppermint JoyGum. It is my favorite.
I know it's such a hard topic because
Yeah.
again, everybody was barking for THC, but it costs a lot of money to produce a THC, a CBD product. They were barking for it, but it costs a lot of money still in a MIP
Yeah.
to manufacture it.
How do you dose and what do you use distillate?
No, okay, so yes and no. So talking about the gum, the gum is excuse me, full spectrum
Okay.
oil, CO2 extracted. That works the best. We tried everything.
With the texture.
With the texture, with the taste, you go ahead and try it if you
Yeah, I'm
like.
like, I'm gonna
It does
pop it
have a little teeny tiny bit of a hashiness in the background, which again is debatable. Some people like it, some people hate it.
Yeah.
You can never please everybody. So we tried to get something that at
That's
least
my
was
favorite.
so everybody wanted CBD, and it just is not a big enough seller for how much we have to manufacture and how much it costs to do that. And unfortunately, as much as we want to leave everything out there, we still have a business with huge expenses to run.
And you gotta prioritize.
Yes. So I'm good. So the gum, and it's great. This is my favorite. It's going to get rid of your cotton mouth.
Yummy. And it's peppermint, so like it makes your breath better.
I love peppermint. Like peppermint mints are my vice.
Dave is the best peppermint mint maker in the world. He does the sweet. I like it a little
How did
sweet.
he learn?
This peppermint gum is amazing.
This is literally the
That's the
best.
sweet mint that I love so much. That sweet mint flavor.
Same.
This stuff really is good for upset stomachs as well.
Like nausea
Yeah, it seems to work really well for nausea and
hangovers.
and just recently, obviously, we've got somebody that just reported back that it's helping tremendously with some MS.
Wow.
And somebody with cancer that it's really tremendously helping, and that's on the gum front.
Yeah, helping them to sleep and eat.
It helps, I think, with anxiety tremendously, and when you're having all these other issues, getting some of the anxiety under control is a huge benefit.
Yeah.
As well as the other stuff. Then we were also asked for a lower dose than the single serve 10 milligrams. So we
Okay.
came out with
The mango.
5 milligram pack, and we did it at a 50 milligram, thinking that price point would make a difference. And you know what? That doesn't matter either.
Really?
Wow.
If they either want to try it or they want to buy it, I think.
Okay.
So, but there is one location that just loved these two. It was the Green Solution, actually. So we kept putting off discontinuing just because they were popular there.
Nice. Okay.
So their bud tenders are less biased on and more
Low dose.
customer facing, I think. Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah. They
how it
kind of
should
leave
be.
their opinions out of it.
that's
Or
how
like-
it's supposed to be.
Yeah. Just try to give like accurate advice of what they think.
What the customer is looking for and try to point them in the right direction
right.
based on.
Interpreting what the customer's saying.
Yeah.
I think it started off that way. And I think there's such a turnover that it's just probably exhaustive to make sure everybody's well enough educated.
Yeah, especially places that have such high volume. It can just, like another interaction. Okay, take this same brand. Oh, you want that? Here's the same thing. It's like,
I've stood in stores where somebody's like, well, what are you looking for? Gummies. And that's it. Okay, so we have this, and this.
Yeah, they don't say, oh, well, actually, I think you might really like these because all of these JoyGum, JoyBombs, they do not melt, unlike gummies.
and they taste amazing.
And they taste incredible. And they're microdose. Like, and it's just so good. I just love these.
They're very, very convenient. And the chewing gum is like a go-to. And
It's in my purse at all times, everywhere I go.
I've said that about the
I've seen
gum
that, yeah.
that should be in your purse. That was
It
one of
is.
my selling points. It's not something that you like if you're a smoker, you just have your routine. But the gum, there are certain times that you just need to pull this out. I had an
It's
incident
amazing.
where I had all kinds of appointments, and at the time I was doing sales, and I lost my badge, and you can't get into a store.
Yeah.
You can't do anything without a badge.
Totally.
And I had a pop up to do. I've done everything, so I went into panic mode, and I gave a call to somebody, and the advice was take a deep breath, chew a piece of gum, and two pieces later for me. I was just like, okay, I still have this crisis going on, but let me make a list of what needs to happen. And that was, I called up the store and they were like, well, as long as you're standing in the lobby and you don't come in the bud room, that you'll be okay. No live product. Okay, great. So I knew I could still do that.
Nice, yeah.
Backtracked and then found out that the next day I could go and get another one for $20. So it wasn't as big of a,
Oh, wow, nice.
you go to Lakewood for a ride and $20 and you got it covered. So,
Get a replacement, yeah.
once again, just it's great for
Problem solving,
Yes.
anxiety, taking a deep breath.
when I was formulating, I called it mom gum. I was always looking for people to try it that could give me really honest feedback because feedback is comes honest, not opinionated, whether just the honest feedback. And again, when I mean opinionated, if you're a really high dose user, sometimes you can't look at it as the product. You're like, it didn't get me high enough. But look at it as, was the 10 milligrams accurate or the 20?
Yeah.
But anyway, moms with little kids, stealthy, it just makes you a smoother, easier, happier parent.
Yeah. Both of my parents really like it, and they're really liking the 10-to-1 for pain in their like knee. Like my dad's
That's
getting
awesome.
a knee replacement. I forgot to tell you this. I gave them, I'm really big into gifting products. Although they live in Missouri.
While they're here in Colorado.
But I give it
While they're visiting.
they only eat it while they're here in Colorado.
they
obviously.
would never cross an arbitrary
But while they're
line.
here, they feel really good on those little hikes they're going on.
My dad
knees.
was like, I literally don't feel any pain, and I haven't felt this way in months, years. And he's like, he tries all the different pain medicine. He gets the cortisone shots. Like, he's tried all the different stuff. Like, he's even does like hormone pellets and like crazy stuff.
So good to hear.
But this is literally something that works. And I literally just I give this 10 to 1 to everyone.
Honestly, I'm chill right now. It hits quick. I've
feel-
never felt
yes.
CBD like this.
Isn't it great? And the sublingual, in my opinion, is the best and most efficient delivery system for cannabis and plant-based medicine products because there's no carcinogens. There's no the smoking aspect. It doesn't go through your liver.
Doctor will give it to you as a preferable way to administer medications. It's not always the most pleasant, but it's probably the best way to get it really quickly into your bloodstream.
Yeah.
The trouble we've had with this is you chew it, and I figured this out on my own. If you're drinking a beverage, you don't get that oral absorption. And so I almost try, like, once I get it softened, I'll like almost try to blow bubbles with it, even though it's not quite ready, just to kind of keep it spread, so
Okay.
to speak. So the gum took a little bit of education. It wasn't easy to roll out at the time. Microdosing wasn't big, and small doses. So one of the things I came up with that it's great for is flower's best friend. So if you dab or you're a smoker and then you hit the road, if you take it with you, you get a little cotton mouth, you chew a couple pieces, and all of a sudden you start to feel really nice, and it just kind of extends it out.
Also, then I wouldn't be worried then, even if you do get pulled over and you don't smell like
You smell like
weed. You
you
smell,
smell like gum.
peppermint.
Like gum. It is
That's
rather
what I think about.
under the radar.
It is definitely discreet.
It's one
It
of
is
its nicest
the most
characteristics.
thing you could. Yeah.
Yeah, and I just love chewing gum, honestly. Mint and gum.
What did you say?
nostalgic.
It's actually a stress reliever too.
Yes, gum is absolutely 100% a cortisol excreter.
Regulator? Okay.
Yeah, so it helps reduce your stress for sure.
And I read this too
It's by
that for
fact.
dogs as well. Like, it really helps them calm down when they're like chewing bones and stuff. Like, and it's the same kind of for humans.
Clenchers and grinders. If you think about how many people, and that's like when you're stressed, so as a dental hygienist, one of the things I always say is chew a piece of gum because it's a lot less damaging to all of your teeth and all of your musculature
Yeah.
than
It
chewing.
makes so much sense.
Well, I spent a lot of years in the chair with time to think about this.
Looking in people's mouths. That is just brilliant.
So, okay, so your dental hygienist background and your husband is an international expert on bubble gum.
Wait, yeah, how did he
how did
get into that?
to go back to that question from earlier.
So it's actually kind of a funny how it happened. He was working for a company and they had a division that made candy.
But
and
you can't disclose what company.
well, it was called A&A Global, and it was Coco's Confection. Was who he worked for. It was actually a friend. They went back years. We're still friends. They're actually a small investor. They became a small investor in me, and they're who I go to when I need some business advice often.
Oh my
They're
gosh,
awesome.
that's great.
So Dave worked for Coco's, and Steve just wanted like a Willy Wonka factory. He just wanted Dave.
Don't we all?
Wow, that's so cool.
Dave's background, surprisingly, is he's got a degree in finance and management. So he's not a background in science, and people call him I shouldn't tell anybody the gum scientist, but like a lot of things, and it's interesting, a lot of scientists have come to him over the years because sometimes being too scientific blows it because you have to make it taste good too. There's a balance.
Yep.
So anyway, he was making nutraceuticals and tablets and different stuff, and somehow he crossed paths with this guy, Mike Hendricks, who is from Belgium. And I think, I don't know if Mike was selling something or was referred to him somehow. And they really didn't do business together. They kind of became friends. And they used to play games. They used to play computer games, but they had some business stuff, but they didn't do business, but they always hoped one day to do business. So they became friends. I can't tell you the exact. And at some point, Mike, who was part owner in a company called Eurobase, which was one of the only privately owned gum-based companies, because they were up against like Mondelez and Wrigley's, and there's very few, and most gum-based companies make their own gum so they can control who they sell gum to.
And gum is a natural product?
No. Well, there is natural gum, and we know about that too.
Okay.
And then there's gum that's not natural, which is basically rubber, plastics, emulsifiers. It's like a tire.
Oh my God.
We got lots of them. So
wait, stop.
in an
know
edible, you know what I mean? But think about it. It's
Yeah.
got sugar in it. So what's left behind is polymers.
Yeah.
So it's just left with, but it's not a bad thing. It's just, you're exercising.
I'm like, we're made of plastic.
Yeah, well, but I'll tell you, so there's a whole big debate about the natural gum, and we have plenty of chicle, and the decomposition of chicle it's not so good either.
Okay.
So just so you know, I mean, I can't give you the exacts, but there's a big dispute going on in the gum world about, for real.
There's
a big legal dispute that's
camps.
underlying in the gum world about this because some chicle people are claiming that it decomposes, but it's questionable.
Yeah. Okay.
Stuff is like
How long does
still
it
like rubber.
stay?
It's like it's still rubber.
Okay. It like decomposes after like 20,000 years? or
Like probably 50. I mean, it will. Everything will
It's like
eventually.
how you can recycle plastic
it's-
bottles, but you can really only get like 30% of it back.
Yeah, so you kind of have to really look into it. But
Okay.
and here's the problem. We actually launched with chicle for lots of nice reasons, including that, and nobody wanted to chew it. I had to quickly pivot and order in some gum base from Europe. We tried that,
Okay.
and it was rejected.
Texture-wise?
Yep.
Okay.
Texture, flavor. It kind of, I don't want to say it has flavor, but it almost does. And I can get you some to try so you can see what it's like.
Okay, because this is really pleasant.
Yeah.
So that has a little tiny bit of chicle in it. We did try to keep a little bit in there, but we had to use a synthetic gum base to get acceptance from
Gum chewers.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's
From
so
everybody.
interesting.
And are most of the bigger companies that you listed, are they using a synthetic base?
all synthetic.
Okay.
So Dave also did a lot of work for Glee Gum. Glee Gum
Okay.
is all natural chicle. So Dave's actually even been down to the chicle factory. He did an audit at the chicle factory. He's done an audit at the international synthetic company.
Whoa.
Dave's got some experience in gum making. So naturally I was like, we should really make some cannabis gum.
Yeah.
I came back from Amsterdam and I brought some flour back, and he was working really hard at the time. They decided to try to make powdered tableted chewing gum. So they were thinking about putting a company called Ameribase. They were Eurobase, and they were thinking about making a company here. So they offered Dave a trip over there to work with Mike to try to come up with a product.
Okay.
So I tagged along. We were there for 2 weeks. That's when, I guess it was like 2007, when I decided to come up with, I was super high. I was with his buddy Mike. Dave was grouchy. It was like 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, let's go for a walk. We were at work. He was like in this giant freezer trying to like get something to form. And I'm like, Mike, just leave him. He's better if you just leave him. So we went and were smoking and walking around. I was really high, and I said, we should make THC chewing gum.
Yes. So epic.
I was at a gum factory. It was like, people were like, that's genius. I'm like, well, I was at a gum factory and I was really high.
Together.
So like, it was kind of not that genius.
But you kept doing it. That's the thing.
Put two and two together.
Right.
Do this.
And people are like, wow, I've heard that so many times. Wow. How did you ever think of this?
That's so funny.
Super stoned at a gum-based factory. So it took a lot more to it. I think we did about 350 formulations of it because what we didn't realize is that chewing gum is a resin. It's resinous, and so is cannabis. And when you put two resins together, it's like when you take two metals, you melt it down and you put them together, you kind of can't get them separated so quickly.
Okay.
So we were having trouble. We'd make the gum and we'd chew it. It was always after work. It was late. It was like 11 o'clock at night. And we'd be like really high. And of course we had no idea like how much we were just putting it in there.
Was this in Maryland?
Yeah,
still?
so we
Okay.
was total black market, and we didn't have access to anything that was tested or that had that we knew what the concentrate percentage was.
Were you
Wow.
making your own concentrates or buying like street concentrates?
So the very, very first one was really funny. Actually, a company from, I think it was Washington State, sent in some, literally in little glass jars like you get here, concentrate to Dave's
Wow.
company. Wait, just randomly through the mail, and asked the owner of the company, hey, we would like to make some cannabis chewing gum, THC chewing gum. What do you think? And sends the actual vials. What do you call the
Wow.
little dab jars?
Yeah.
Through the mail. And Dave comes home and tells me this. And of course, the owner of the company was like, oh, we can't do that. I mean, it's not legal here.
This is a terrible idea. Don't pursue this at all.
Right. So basically, that's what the owner, and Dave comes home to tell me about it. And of course, he was just the bystander at the time. And I'm like, well, what happened to it? Like,
Where's the concentrate?
yeah, my first question, where's the concentrate?
Literally.
And he's like, in the trash. I'm like, you got to go back and get it out of the trash.
Oh my.
He
At
literally
night, like-
threw it, literally threw it at the trash can.
Oh my.
So our first attempt, we actually had a little tiny bit, and we were just like hand mixing it in. So we basically made some gum, and again, we still didn't have like a really tight measurements, but we chewed it and we got high. I was like, this is great. And then the next day we'd chew a little more of it, and we're like, I'm not really sure. I don't really, and then you start to second guess yourself. And then by about 3 days, I'm like, this doesn't work. So then we figured out again that it was binding. So then it was like, how do we get this to work? So I don't know how many tries later, we finally figured out a way to actually get it to be water soluble and encapsulated. And we broke down. But you know what? Everybody's kind of doing a version of this now. At the time, it was very novel, very novel at the time. And we went ahead and we kind of I don't want to say we wrote our own patent, but we had a patent attorney that wasn't great. Dave did a lot of the work himself.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it didn't go well.
Oh my God.
Didn't go well.
Wait, let's take a moment for SK to cough it out. What's been like your biggest hurdle with with everything about starting a cannabis business and running a cannabis business?
What's the biggest challenge? I think everything's challenging because I knew nothing going into it. Really fun and exciting, and I really loved having our own place. The cost factor was probably our first hurdle because it was more in line. Like we said many times, if we had the regular deductions, if the costs were normal to just starting a business, we'd probably be doing okay.
Yeah.
We could make it. So that was the first big hurdle. And then the second big hurdle was we were just making gum, and I was working on R&D for the JoyBombs, and then COVID hit.
Yep.
And even though people were spending money on cannabis in the beginning of COVID because of stimulus money, the chewing gum was on the shelf and people were wearing masks and staying home.
Right.
So chewing gum was not going to be
No
the
one's
go-to. There's
buying
no
any type of
tourism.
gum.
Nobody's traveling. Nobody's drinking coffee, going to the office. Nobody's
Right.
going to eat lunch out and then have to hope that stuff falls out of their teeth with the gum.
Totally.
Right.
So gum just in general, not just in the cannabis, it lost about a 35% market share and it was already taking a little bit of a hit just because of gummies and I don't know, water bottles. And over the years, it's kind of become a little less
Yeah.
of a thing.
I used to chew Orbit gum, the sweet mint flavor of Orbit gum all throughout.
That's why you like that.
Me too,
Yes,
actually.
all throughout high
Totally.
school. And I think it's because like when you're like meeting people, dating and stuff, you're always worried about bad
Paranoid.
breath, always. Or if going to an like new job, going to meetings with people, lunch dates, dinner dates, like gum was so important. Like in high school and college because you never wanted to have like the bad breath. Does anyone? I
It's
don't
like
know.
now
Everybody
it becomes a
thinks
ritual
that way.
too. Like
It is a ritual thing.
in the
too.
morning you pop it and then it's like
Or right
through
after
your
the
first
coffee.
class.
On your
you're- yeah.
I think it depends on the individual, but you either love gum
Yeah,
some people just do not.
Yeah, don't chew it at all.
So again, when you're out there and you're talking to people, I don't like, okay, no problem, I get it.
Great.
But
It's
if you
like-
know somebody who does, there's cannabis gum available
But
now.
so many people like candy.
Yes, or sweet treats of some sort. Can't
confections.
call it candy.
I really do like the idea of a smaller dose that you can have multiple of.
I thought it was a good idea because if you are a high dose user, maybe you just want to eat a whole bag of them.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like a
Please.
bag of candy because it has the exact same serving
definitely-
size as
yep.
the one that you might get in a
Those are the
regular
sample
store.
size, though.
Have you looked into making medical edibles?
This has come up, and again, this
Yep.
is such a sad topic here in Colorado.
This in my dispensary, I'm buying it. If you have 1,000 bag, that's just
Oh,
like,
yeah, 1,000 milligrams.
Would
of,
just be
like-
a huge bag of them because to just, I don't know.
But then you could just pound them.
right. It's like then boom.
People would pound them.
You
I
could do
think.
them in, like,
but it's
50
kind of a harder
milligram.
sell, maybe.
It'd be like a 10 pack of like 100 milligram packages.
The profit margin on the medicals is what's starting to make it go away. And again, we come right back to like, how do we make this work better?
Yeah.
And I've always said, first of all, having two separate sets of licenses, you need to have two separate sets of licenses and two separate sets of a store and two separate sets of everything. Why wouldn't we just have like a tax exempt card of some sort or
I walked into a dispensary in Oregon like 2 weeks ago and everything just had two prices. It was like your medical price, your recreational price. And it was just
a lot
like
more
right
cost
in front.
effective for the manufacturers and the stores? And maybe it would make some products hang around or expand into other. I mean, there's a lot of things.
It halts innovation. Definitely. I mean, that's my take on
It is it's really
overregulation.
it really is too bad. And even again, just with this 10-to-1, this has come up at our meetings like week after week after week as we had to get rid of some that was expiring, and it's got a decent shelf life. So if we can't sell it in that amount of time, and maybe shame on us, maybe we didn't have the right people out there pushing it. But again, it was during COVID. So
Yeah.
I said, well, let's
So
just
hard.
at least reinvestigate it. Totally.
Right.
There's a market for this product. It's just like, timing maybe. And
Timing, it was
also-
bad. Yeah, it's just
And
disappointing.
Seeing what, like, I don't know, what pitches and like points actually work for people to be like, oh, that's great. Yeah, I want to try that. Like, maybe it's just like the selling points we think are the best ones, like, aren't the ones people actually want to hear, you know?
I think our biggest challenge has come to getting the customer, the end user, to know about it.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest challenge. That's probably our second biggest challenge besides the costs.
Yeah.
Is the marketing team. There's a new bit of software that they're using now that's going to supposedly drum up the names of cannabis customers that are also gum chewers.
Oh.
Because it is specific, and lots of times people say, I didn't know it was there. So right now there isn't a lot of the advertising's tough in this industry. You know, we're stuck with bud tenders recommendations.
Marketing is tough.
Shelf space. We just came up with a really cute new display. So hopefully, at least for the bombs, that'll get some it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard.
It's so regulated.
It's an uphill battle for
But-
sure.
Well, if you can make it here in Colorado, you can make it anywhere, which was something I said early on, and I find it to be true because it is so saturated that the market is just shaking you out because there is so much available.
Yeah, totally.
Are you in dispensaries in Massachusetts?
We're just getting ready to start up manufacturing. So hopefully by last quarter of this year, if not for sure the first quarter.
Okay.
They're going to say sooner, but I'm going to say, all right,
2023.
probably, no, it's got to be sooner than that. It really does. I
Okay.
can't say that. It's going to have
like
to be there.
October, November.
Probably I'm hoping November.
Okay.
Hopefully November because they're rolling out and they've got to get everything set up, and then the sales force has to get out there and they've got to start selling it. And
Yeah.
I think it's going to catch because I've been to a few dispensaries there. Have you been?
I'm going next week. So.
Okay, check it out.
Yeah.
It's a really bad shopping experience.
Interesting. Yeah, my cousin was telling me that there's THC caps and stuff.
So what I saw when I went out there was they're just allowing displays, I guess, now. So there's very few displays. So you go in there and you basically look at a board or an iPad. Somebody will show you and they'll be like, "What are you
Yeah.
looking for?"
Yeah, like
and
a
you'll be like,
computer screen.
"Edibles," and they'll be like, "Well, we have We have gummies, or we have chocolate, or we have tablets.
Okay.
So you don't get to see the product. So we're going to.
I'm looking for gum, you have to say, in order to.
Yes. I was looking for a couple of products and I looked up online. So I online shopped, which is going to give you actually a better shopping experience, which is kind of sad to have these storefronts.
Full storefronts that have to be so.
The 2 stores I went in had plenty of space for retail. There was plenty of space to like put displays out.
And like smell flower and these sorts of things.
I don't know if they'll ever let that happen there. I think pretty much everything seems to be kind of prepackaged, which is, I don't know a state by state if that's going to be a thing.
It's such a shame not to be able to smell
I remember
flower before.
Go to a dispensary
I really
during
like
COVID,
the
and
deli
somebody was
style.
like, she opened the container and was like wafting it with a clipboard my way.
Yeah, I've done that too with bud tenders.
It's like
I know. I don't know if
pre-pack.
we're spoiled or like I want to see and smell the bud I'm getting before
they looked at me like I was a Colorado snob. So as soon as they see you, they're going to see your license and be like, okay, this should be. And then of course I was on stealthy undercover marketing work, unstealthy. So I started asking.
Didn't want to say who you're with.
Well, I it's not that I wouldn't, but I was asking questions because I was trying to find out, like, how do you get a display in the store?
Yeah.
Because the number one thing I'm thinking is somebody has to be able to see your product to even ask to buy it. But if they see it, they're going to want it. Yeah. Because they don't have anything like this there.
Yeah, and I love the JoyBombs packaging. The JoyGum is cute as well, but these are just, the JoyBomb is so catching.
They're changing up a little bit for mass. They couldn't show the fruit. They couldn't show the bomb igniting part. There's certain restrictions, and we've got compliance people looking at this stuff, what you can get away with and what you can't.
Yeah.
Packaging, man.
The packaging's a whole department of its own.
Oh my God, I'm sure. 2 of our last questions we always ask our guests, and sometimes they get modified, but we kind of have been touching on this throughout the show, but just to ask you more directly, what do you think is the future of the cannabis industry? And that could be Colorado or federally or just, I don't know. International, worldwide.
I couldn't say international is kind of tough, but I think federally eventually. I think within the next 5 years we might see some federal changes. Whether or not that's going to make it even more difficult is yet to be seen. In the local, we're going to see, unfortunately, more consolidation because it's the only way to survive it, and that's what I had to do. And it's
merging with other
the only
brands.
way to make it work is just economy of scale because it's so expensive. And once the honeymoon and the emerging market factor wears off and the prices shake down, depending on how many suppliers there are, something has to happen. And right now we're seeing just the economy of scale. Some places are just getting huge, and some are just merging together and becoming huge. More white labelers.
Yeah. Lots of white labeling.
More white labeling going on. So that's kind of what I see, kind of a consolidation here until it goes federal. And then you're going to see a different kind of consolidation because you're going to have people like Juana that they're in 18 states. Yeah. And then you can't manufacture in 18 states and have that pricing work out. So then there's going to be a whole different scaling that you're going to see happen.
Yeah, how they do interstate commerce is going to be really interesting.
Yeah.
It's got to be cheaper to make it in one location and send it than to make it in 18 locations on a small scale. So then you're going to have this scaling up that's going to happen, and it's still got a lot of ups and downs.
Prices are going to be like all the same in every state. So they're going to be like, you can now get $15 edibles out
everywhere.
The door. Like Juana in 25 states, exactly,
like Walmart. And so there's going to be a lot of changes. We're just going to see continuous changes. I wish I could say it's not, but I think it is.
Yeah.
And then our last question, which is the fun one. If you could consume cannabis with anyone alive or dead or fictional, who would it be and why? And what would you consume?
And not family.
Oh, yeah, not family.
Not family.
I always forget something.
I would definitely smoke something.
Whoop, whoop.
And And it's just I would definitely want to smoke something with somebody who's humorous because I want to have a really good
Yes,
time.
we love to laugh.
And I just want to chill and just like Adam Sandler or something.
Okay,
Something just silly
good
like that.
one.
Just like, just smoke a joint and just like,
Oh, that would be so fun.
I would definitely smoke flower.
Okay.
And I'd probably, if I had my choice, I'd go to a bong because that's always my number one go-to.
Yeah, very true.
And I've got a couple of favorite strains. One would be, of course, the green crack, as I said.
yes, green crack.
And there's another one that's really elusive. If you ever see it, it's called Purple Jagu.
What?
Okay.
I've never heard of that.
I hunted down, a friend gave it to us, and it was absolutely perfect.
Thank you so much for coming on. We will have you back anytime.
So fun hanging with you guys.
This was so
thank you.
interesting. I have like more questions too that we could totally get into, but it's already going to, we try to cap it at an hour and a half because I just think it can carry on. And
I'm nice and high. This was.
Did you enjoy those?
This is great. Yeah.
Yes.
One last thing is I want it to get to the point where people just walk in and go, hey, got joy?
Right. I like that.
And
cute.
yeah.
Very cute. So everyone go get your JoyGum, JoyBombs they have them all over, like the green solution. They're just picked up the bombs.
Yes.
I know VGS carries the gum.
Yep, Village Green Society in Boulder. And you can go on their website actually to do the store locator, which would probably be more convenient.
And I do oftentimes, if you often say, just call the store in advance if you don't want to make it. It's very common
I
to see
always
stuff.
call people.
If you're really going in special, just give it a call first.
Don't
just to
waste
double
the
check.
gas in case they're out or
Yeah.
something. Great
And
call.
Where can people find you?
Oh, yeah. If they want to reach out to you personally.
We can always just reach out to me at amy@sharedjoygum.com.
There we go.
Yeah, I'm not a huge social media person. I'm now in the background, so
That's okay.
you guys just know where to find
Email
me
is
at
great.
personally, but you can always reach me direct through email, and I always answer.
Oh, yay. Thank you again. You are the best. All right, everyone. Thanks and
Stay high.